Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Hit Start to Play podcast. It's your boy, the anime enthusiast, Big Man Jack, and I'm with my co-host yet again. Say hello.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may happen to be. I hope you are staying safe in the current circumstances. Little note to begin with before we kick off. We are trying a new schedule out, so news and games announced will be a bit shorter than usual because we haven't had as much time. So
hopefully with the new schedule and stuff, it should sort of reach, like, we should have more news next week once the schedule comes into sort of full swing. But like I say, we only recorded Saturday just gone. It's now Tuesday at the time of recording. Realistically, not a lot happens in 3 days, but we move. So, would you like to take the first news topic as usual?
Yeah, might as well. We will start with games announced. Returnal, next gen game, completely new IP. It's sci-fi alien third-person shooter. Very similar. If anyone's seen the film Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, where aliens invade and every time he dies it time loops and he spawns sort of back at the start of the day again. Very similar sort of concept, quite unique. Looks good.
That sounds cool. Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm actually quite excited. It looks beautiful as well. Like, I don't know what planet it's on, but it looks beautiful. So hopefully that's a good one.
Well, that's the advantage of being on next gen, right? Because obviously the specs of the next gen consoles are quite good. So, you know, I suppose they have a bit more freedom with making the game more visually appealing. I mean, I'm one of these people that I really like games that look nice, and I like the little aspects of the game. So yeah, I mean, that could be quite cool. Not too big on would you say it's third person shooter?
Yeah, so Mass Effect is probably what it looks like. Like, similarly, I guess you could, if you looked at a screenshot, you could probably mistake it for Mass Effect sort of thing.
So obviously there's the slight issue of possibility of it being too Mass Effect like, or would you say it's going to be like different enough?
It depends because it's classed as horror as well. So
right. Okay.
I don't think it'll. It just looks like similar in the terms of the suits the characters were wearing in the trailer and stuff that I watched.
Okay.
The sort of gameplay style, but I don't think it will be when it actually arrives.
I mean, that's one for you third person shooter fans to look forward to.
Next, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine releases March 31st. I believe it is built on Rainbow Six Siege. I'm not entirely sure on the inner workings of the game.
The problem is, so I've been sort of reading a little bit about it, and there's the rumor right now that apparently it's going to be cancelled until 2022. Now, obviously, I don't know if there's much legitimacy to that. But a lot of things of what I was reading earlier were that it's not going to be released in March, which is how true that is. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I only read today that it was being released March, so I don't know if it's.
So for reference, I've got in front of me an IGN article saying that no, Rainbow Six Quarantine isn't actually coming out in March, and it was an error from Ubisoft. Oh, actually, funnily enough, shock. The release date is actually my birthday, supposedly. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but from what I can tell, it's a spin-off series of Rainbow Six. Now,
yeah, it's built on the same. It is Rainbow Six, I think, just with different assets.
I have a bit of a problem with that because obviously Rainbow Six arguably is probably Ubisoft's biggest title, arguably.
I think it's the biggest first-person shooter, to be honest, out at the moment.
I mean, we've played it. We've had our fair share of. I mean, you're a lot better than I am.
I like Siege. I think it's probably the best first-person shooter to actually play.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But do you feel like they're milking it a bit too much, or
not compared to what happens with Call of Duty every year?
Well, no, I'll give you that, yeah.
Ubisoft was stuck with Rainbow Six for years, so...
True.
I think one spin-off in however many years is allowed.
yeah, it's a lot less than, like I say, releasing a new COD every single year, and all
Yeah,
they
I
do
don't
is
think
change the
it'd be
guns
wrong.
and the maps. Yeah, it could be interesting. Not too sure about the release date for that, but
We'll keep you
you know,
posted when we find out actual more, because we
yeah,
don't
exactly.
know yet. No,
So
it
again,
seems to be.
Rainbow Six Siege fans, get ready, get
Next,
excited for that.
yeah. Next up, the next two go hand in hand. Naughty Dog released that they were hiring for a new gaming
Mm,
project, and I believe this is only a rumor, but it's looking likely that this goes hand in hand with Sony's announcement that a new San Diego studio that we don't know the name of this studio yet are working on an existing franchise, and the rumors are that it is an Uncharted game. I don't know, Uncharted 5, whatever it might be. Not
interesting.
a clue, but that is the current rumored
See, I've
franchise.
never been overly interested in Uncharted
I
personally.
like
I don't think I've ever
Uncharted.
played them.
I was always a fan of Tomb Raider and the kind of similar
Hmm.
games, so for
Interesting.
me
And
they
Naughty
just
Dog.
appeal.
I mean, Naughty Dog, obviously, we know, are quite good when they come to sort of
Yeah,
building games and stuff. So,
I mean The Last of Us, yeah. Like,
mm,
it's
yeah, arguably one of their bigger ones, if not
it
the
probably is now.
biggest.
Yeah, nowadays it's probably their biggest. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that could be. I mean, that could be interesting. Obviously, more news will come on that when it's actually released and what they're
Yeah,
building.
it's
But
only speculation at the moment, but that is looking likely.
good way to build hype, though, right?
Well, yeah, mystery around it and a beloved franchise. So,
Yeah.
especially since the film as well, or TV series. I can't remember which one, but there's a film or TV series of Uncharted coming out as
Is
well.
that the one with Tom Holland in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because I follow him on Instagram, so I see stuff about him posting stuff, but about being in the film and that. But well, I guess time will tell with that one.
Yeah, and the final game announcement is Hitman VR. Now, I'm not
Wi-
sure if this is just the original Hitman ported, or
hmm,
if it's a fresh game,
I
but
think
this is apparently isn't far off release.
that'd be super cool. I really
I
do.
think I
I,
think it's
I,
probably one of the first true stealth titles on VR.
yeah, I mean, the problem is like VR. I've never taken VR gaming very seriously because a
Nah,
lot of the
neither
games are
have
like
I.
indie games, aren't they? Like.
Yeah, or just bad ports a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I think if they do it well, and that's a big if, because I think that's a big ask to have a game like Hitman in VR. They do it well, that's gonna be sick. That's gonna be really good, I think.
Yeah, that's if. Because
Yeah.
Fallout 4, I remember when that came to VR and everyone was really hyping it and it was an absolute disaster. So
Oh no.
it just didn't work properly. It was really odd. So only
That's the
time will
problem.
tell with that.
Yeah. That's the issue with VR ports, I think, as well. They're a bit inconsistent. I mean, it could bang, and then it could end up being just one of those games that people meme. So I guess we'll
I
find
think
out.
I think a slower paced sort of style like Hitman works better because fast paced games on VR can make people sick. So
No, that is very true.
a
Yeah,
slower
no, that is
style
very true.
game I think suits it, but personally not one for me. But you never know, could be good.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I say, uh, I like Hitman. I like the series, so I'll give it a go. Whether it's good or not, I don't like I say. Time will tell. But yeah, we'll guess we'll find out more as and when. So
Todd Howard of Bethesda has assured fans that The Elder Scrolls 6 is not taking a back seat despite the Indiana Jones game announcement, which I think is good. Obviously, The Elder
yes, I mean,
Scrolls probably
th-
Bethesda's biggest
yeah,
franchise.
I mean, this one's more for you, right? Because you're, you know,
More
one of
Fallout, but yeah, again,
yeah,
I do like Bethesda titles, so yeah, I'm
yeah,
happy. Like,
it's good.
it's good news that they're not just kind of throwing it in the bin for now because Skyrim's still doing well, so they think, oh, well, don't need to worry about this for now. We've got Indiana Jones coming, work on that.
Well, Skyrim's
And
still huge, right?
well, yeah, it gets a new special edition every 3 months, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still doing alright. But
That's
I don't
crazy
know.
to me.
Oh, it's just I don't like it at all. But we'll get to that later on. But I think in terms of Elder Scrolls and Indiana Jones, I'm sure it's different studios anyway. They're both published by Bethesda, but
They're
I'm
just
sure.
two separate people working on it,
Yeah,
sort of
it's
thing.
Machine Games working on Indiana Jones, and I don't think they work on Machine Games work on Fallout or Elder Scrolls, so
Right. So there
I don't
shouldn't
think it
be
shouldn't be an issue.
clashes.
Hopefully
That's
not.
that's good news for Elder Scrolls fans. I mean, it's a big franchise, right? So it'd be a
Yeah,
shame if they sort of left it, untouched. But at least now
especially
we
since
know.
Skyrim came out 2011, I think. So
Was it really?
yeah, I
Wow.
believe so. So
So wait for the 10 year.
well, it's
wait
gonna
for
happen. Yeah,
the
there's gonna be
10-year
the old
edition.
10-year edition and all of this. For you can play it now on your fridge and all this.
Yeah, play it now on your smart TV.
It's getting that way. It's ridiculous. But
It
carry
is a
on
bit.
with Bethesda. One really exciting for me. Fallout New Vegas. Player base still very loyal to this day.
Yes.
And the largest mod for Fallout New Vegas that has been in development, I believe, for like 5+ years, called The Frontier, is finally out. So basically what this is a complete overhaul of the game. It adds about 35 to 40 hours of story to the game, adds a plethora of new weapons, new characters, new locations, and this is magical to me.
That's
Because
crazy.
this is just fans making this, yeah. Like,
That's crazy. Like they're bringing new life into a game that. I mean, a lot of people agree with you. I think that say that it's one of the better Fallouts.
I think it's the best one, yeah. Definitely.
It just breathes new life into the game. Like obviously, it's I don't think Fallout 4 settled as well as the rest of
Nah,
them.
it didn't.
Like,
The general sort of opinion on this, everyone's different, but the general sort of opinion is that people that really liked Fallout 1 to New Vegas don't like 4, and people that kind of just came in thought Fallout 4 was good.
yeah, that's the problem. Like, I mean, Fallout 4 wasn't bad.
Yeah,
But-
I thought it was alright, but it's not for me. I don't think it's as good as 3 or New Vegas at all.
No, I mean to sort of say more about the mod. They're adding 163 new weapons,
Yeah,
and
a ton.
three new quests, which for someone that it's like an independent developer, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's just a load of geezers, pretty much.
It's
not like-
incredible, absolutely like mind-boggling. That I mean the file size, put it that way, is over 19 gig.
Yeah, I think the whole thing to install is 40 odd gig.
Yeah, and they want to make it bigger, which
Well, put it this way as well: 163 new weapons added. I am 99% sure there's not even 163 weapons in the vanilla game. So
that's mental. I mean that's real dedication to the game. That's
to a game that is beloved.
yeah, 7 years is a crazy amount of time to develop a mod for a game.
I'm just glad Bethesda allows modding. To be honest,
Yes,
they just
yeah.
give everyone free reign.
I was surprised, to be honest, because
They've
I know
always
some devs.
been like that. To be fair, so
Well, I mean, yeah, like I say, I mean, some devs just don't like mods in their games, so they kind of frown
but-
upon it. So
yeah, Bethesda games are very they suit it. So I think it.
New Vegas sales will go through the roof now. Watch, I'm calling it.
Do you actually need the game to download it? I don't
I-
actually know.
I would assume so, because I can't see them releasing that, like Bethesda allowing them to release a standalone mod without the game.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise,
true. Because then that's a lot. Of...
they
it's
just download the
free,
mod and be
so-
like, nah, I'm not buying the game.
To be fair though, it's free, so they're not getting revenue off of it.
True.
But they've
That's
added driving
surprising.
as well into the
Ooh.
game, which has never been done in Fallout game before. So
Because you have to bloody walk everywhere. It's so annoying.
yeah, I think that's great that there's a community, and this isn't just like this game either. This happens multiple games that people go out of their way to do stuff like this.
These are the kinds of people that these game developers need to hire. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because
know.
they genuinely care,
Mhm.
because they're
Yeah,
fans first.
Yeah, you can see it. So no, that's good. I mean, that's good news for the Fallout community. That's good news for, well, lovers of Bethesda, I guess.
Yeah, back on the Hitman train. Hitman
Yes.
3 has kind of done a U-turn, and they've said Hitman 2 levels will be available for free, only for PC though. Console players can get in the bin and deal with the 6 levels, but if
That's
you're on PC,
pretty much it.
that you get some free levels, which is fine. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, but
It's a bit
I
annoying.
guess. Well, yeah. Well, if not, it's either paid DLC or you just gotta play the old ones, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Like it was kind of, like obviously they added the what they called the Hitman levels for the
Yeah,
first
for
one
Hitman 2.
into the second one, which was fine, but the
It's just
fact there's only
cheap
6
to me.
levels
Yeah.
kind of is a bit like, oh well, the fact that there's only 6 levels, you should have at least added maybe a little bit more. Maybe added the levels as a bit of substance, because 6 levels is not going to take long to finish.
Depends
You
how
know.
in depth it is.
Yeah, no, I suppose so. But
But
again, it
from
comes
my
out tomorrow.
experiences, it's yeah 20th, yeah, so tomorrow. But in my experiences with the new trilogy is. I don't remember what level I spent a lot of time on. Whether the one in the first game where you're like in modelling, like a fashion show sort of thing. I don't
First one.
remember.
Yeah, it's in Paris, I believe.
I didn't take me long to do everything, do all
No.
the opportunities and stuff and that at all. It's quite easy just to rattle through. So, I have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can all tell. We'll see. There's already a few reviews in. Obviously, people that have had the game early or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see how well that goes down.
Now,
So yeah,
moving on from that, the Nintendo Switch was the highest selling console in 2020 for the second year running.
doesn't surprise me.
2019 it also was. No, I didn't mean it either, to be honest. It's no one was really buying Xbox Ones or PS4s then.
No.
And 2021, not sure if it will be, but
Well, it might do still, because no one could buy a PS5.
yeah,
So,
that's the problem. Like the recent stock has just been scalped again, so I
Yeah.
don't know what's happening.
No, I don't. But again, the Nintendo Switch it's one of those consoles that appeals to everyone. That's the
It was
thing.
a surprise success.
After we had the discussion about the
Wii U, yeah. How bad it was, and everyone expected it again with this, but it was a success, and the sales show. Speaking of sales, Call of Duty had the 2 highest selling games of 2020 in the US. First in 2020 being Cold War, and second being Modern Warfare. I think this says a lot more for Modern Warfare, the fact that this was the highest selling game of 2019 in the US, and second in 2020 after being out for over a year.
Matt,
It says more for Modern Warfare than it does for Cold War.
yeah, I'm just impressed that they turned it around, because obviously COD was, let's be honest, it was stinky, wasn't it?
I stopped
for the longest
after
time.
Black Ops 2, whatever game came after that, I stopped playing from then until Black Ops 4, so I have no clue of anything past that. So
they sort of lost their edge when they went jetpacks and futuristic.
I never played any of them, but yeah, I heard they weren't very good.
Yeah, no, I think they've pulled it back. They did. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of Modern Warfare, you know that, but they pulled it back, and they brought it back to what it was, and added a new twist to it. So it wasn't like the same like COD 4 where there's like 3 kill streaks. They added something to it, but they brought it back to its basics with gunfights. It was fair play to them. I can't rebash them for that, to be honest.
But probably the biggest news of the week: CD Projekt Red are in a lawsuit over.
Again.
Now, this is very similar to the Watch Dogs scenario with Ubisoft, where Cyberpunk, the devs, are being sued over a fake E3 demo and development disaster that the game has kind of sprung. I'm not surprised, to be honest.
No.
This is up there, I think, with one of the biggest disasters in video game sort of releases since Watch Dogs, No Man's Sky.
Especially since it was so hyped, and so everyone was like, yes, this is going to be a fantastic game, yada yada yada, and then it come out and everyone was like,
What is this?
okay,
why doesn't my video game work?
I can't play this unless I'm on PC. Like,
Yeah, it's a disaster. I think No Man's Sky is probably the nearest one to it, where the hype was astronomical, and it comes out and everyone's like, "What is this?"
That's because they literally were like, "Oh, you can do all these things with the multiplayer," and then it turns out there's absolutely no multiplayer.
I remember an interview came out afterwards, and someone straight up asked one of the devs, "Is this game going to be good?" And he genuinely couldn't answer. Like, even the devs knew the game was bad.
Yeah,
now,
it's this.
This is back then. Supposedly, No Man's Sky is really good now, but I've never played it.
No, neither have I. But I mean, you hope that sort of reflects back on CD Projekt Red, like that they pull it back if they can.
I think they will.
If they can get through the lawsuit, that's the problem.
I think they'll be okay. It's just a learning lesson for other devs. And we've obviously noticed that with other games getting delayed as they want to avoid the disaster.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be rough for a while, I think.
This is why I think hype kills games more than it makes them, because this happens.
Yeah.
Like, name a game more hype than Cyberpunk this decade. Like,
you can't.
You can't, exactly. And then it comes out and look what happens. It gets like 50 out of 100 on Metacritic. So something's gone drastically wrong.
Yep.
And there is a lawsuit, but we will keep you updated with what's happening with that.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely, if that's something you are interested in, definitely like stay tuned and keep an eye on it yourself, even, because it's interesting to see sort of the legal proceedings behind a video game and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll be interested to see the outcome of that.
Yeah.
So I think that, as we said earlier,
that's the news. There wasn't a lot this week.
That's not bad for a lot happens in the gaming world. So segue, right? So this was a topic that I suggested a couple of weeks ago, I believe, and it has to do with nostalgia in games. Now, the question I have for you really is, do you think the sort of game remasters, for example, not remakes, remasters, rely on the fact that it's a nostalgic experience? Because obviously we look back at some of the games we played, as we discussed in the first episode, Simpsons Hit and Run is a really good example. The game itself, we look back at it and we think, God, that mechanically that game was the worst thing ever, but it was so much fun, Yeah. When they release these remasters, are they relying purely on the fact that you remember it being so great and the game actually is bad? Do you think that's a problem, or do you think, that they're actually going to release games and they're going to be good? Do you see what I mean? Like,
I think here there's blurred lines with this. I don't think nostalgia's a huge part of remasters for sure. So some examples being, say, like you said, Simpsons Hit and Run is a big nostalgia game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I guess you got, trying to think of some examples of games
Crash
that are very old.
That's a remake.
Yeah, Crash. I mean, same thing really. There's still nostalgia, the main driving force behind it.
Spyro is the other one.
Yeah, people played these games when they were kids, and are now grown up, and you see they're remaking all of these games, and you think, oh, I wonder if it's as good as I remember it being. And even to a new audience that may not know who Crash Bandicoot is or Spyro is, that never played these games, sees that. Like my nephew, for example, he's 7, so he was never around when Spyro obviously was made, and he loves the new games because it's a little dragon.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes and no.
yeah. There are
But
definitely examples, like you say, of ones that work. You know, like Spyro, like Crash, I think. But I do fear that if they did remake Simpsons Hit and Run, the only reason it would be popular is because we all remember Simpsons Hit and Run as this amazing game that we all loved as a child.
now I
And
can actually get some insight on this as I've played the game recently.
yes, yeah,
I've always wanted a remaster on this, but since playing it, I don't. I no longer want a remaster on this game. The reason it's come to realise I'm very big into like analysis and stats,
I
so
thought
I
you were
like
saying
going
animated.
into games,
Mm.
and I figured out why The Simpsons Hit and Run is so good, and it's not because it's a good game. It's because I think Simpsons, firstly, is very popular.
Well, yeah, no, that's
It's
true.
light-hearted, but the game's so broken that and chaotic that it is fun. I'm not going to go too much into that as we've already been into this, but
Hmm.
I have a fear that if they did remaster this game, yes, the nostalgia would be through the roof,
Mm.
but they would probably fix a lot of these issues that made the game fun. And then I
Yeah,
fear that you just have a very bland Simpsons experience, to be honest.
yeah. To try and they try that maybe they'll change things to try and keep with the time sort of thing,
They'll
you know.
modernise it all.
Yeah,
And think of the
yeah.
last Simpsons game that came out, I believe was the Simpsons game. It
Oh
was
God.
absolutely atrocious.
Yeah,
It was a bad game.
that
Like
was a bin-worthy game.
there was no sort of sugarcoating it. The game was bad,
Yeah,
and I fear that if they do remaster this game, I just fear the same thing will happen. It will just become a new the next generic vanilla Simpsons experience.
yeah. Will it sort of ruin everyone's memory of what you know
I think
what the
so,
game
and I think
was?
this is a danger of going back to old games. Is
Yeah,
nostalgia paints a picture of that game in your head of all the times you had as a child, and then going back to it, it's like, what is this? And
well,
there's
I
been
mean,
a
a good
few
example is the
examples.
Mario one, right? The Mario 3D All Stars, whatever it's called, that's just come out. That was
Yeah,
obviously, you know, Mario
massive nostalgia.
64,
Yeah,
Super Mario Sunshine and Galaxy. Is that right?
yeah.
A lot of those games. I mean, a lot of those games people loved, didn't they? You know,
Oh yeah, they're all fantastic games.
for me personally, it was Super Mario Sunshine was one of the games, but I have just had no real interest in buying it. Because I don't want to take that from what I remember as a kid. You know, I don't want to ruin my like the immersive experience of when I first plugged in the GameCube and
Yeah.
got flood on my back. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's actually I have a list of bad examples of remasters and unsuccessful, and this is
okay,
one that is definitely unsuccessful. I think mainly nostalgia plays a huge part in this.
hmm,
Is everyone sees Mario 64 and thinks, "Oh my god!" Like I
yeah,
played this when I was like 6,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then you play it on the Switch. Nothing's really changed, and that's not a bad thing in itself. But it doesn't feel like it stood the test of time.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the game looks it's a £60 or maybe just over $60 game for a
yeah. It's
game
a lot of
in
money.
Mario 64, Sunshine and Galaxy that they look identical. Like it's a bad example of a remaster because all they've kind of done is just slightly bump the graphics up and make it suit a 1280 by 720 screen.
Yeah, yeah.
There's been no innovations to modernise anything at all.
And I mean, for some people that's fine, but I think, like you said, the general consensus is like, if I wanted to play this game, I would have just played the older version. You know, there's
Game
no
it shouldn't be £60. No
no
chance
no.
for these three at all. Should
You know,
not be in the slightest.
remasters shouldn't, because as you said, all they've done is made it into a different,
Yeah,
like put it into a different format. That's all they've done. They bumped the graphics up and made it fit the screen of the Nintendo Switch. That's it.
yeah.
And then
Like
they charged you
remakes,
60 quid for it.
I think are different remakes for sure.
Yeah, no, that's different.
But
Yeah, because they've
that's
rebuilt them,
something
didn't
that
they?
yeah, that's something we have to understand. The difference is obviously
Yeah,
remasters. For anyone that doesn't know the difference, remasters is just bumping it sort of up to a bit of more of a modern standard in terms of look and maybe sound. Whereas Remake is just completely taking that game and building it again from the ground up to suit modern standards.
Yeah, while keeping sort of the same same sort
Yeah,
of
the game will be
storyline.
the same. Yeah, just it will look different.
And there obviously there are
be
different elements, right? You know, like the Spyro games from when I
you get modern sort of mechanics and things get added to the game. Just quality of life changes.
Exactly, and I think that's a good thing. You know, I do prefer remakes to remasters personally.
It depends. Yeah, I think remasters are a bit more of like a cash grab. So Skyrim and GTA 5 being the big ones that have been remastered about 7 times.
Yeah, because that's coming to PS5 and Xbox One.
Yeah, I believe
X
Skyrim is as well. So yeah, I think
milking
that's
the
more
cow
cash
dry.
grab. Yeah.
You know.
Whereas remakes are very much kind of more suited for games that maybe had issues in their original release and have been remade to a modern standard with quality of life changes and fix those issues.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the last thing I will mention is actually is a question for you more than anything. Obviously, I know for a fact you're a big fan of Ocarina of Time, right?
Yep.
So,
opening that can of worms is going to cause some dispute. Let's go.
For anyone that obviously is unaware, it's one of the greatest games of all time. The greatest game of all time. I've been corrected. I've never played it myself, so I'm on the fence, right? So I'm an outsider on this one. Do you think that if they were to remaster this, remake it,
they have.
Did it go down?
It is really successful, yeah.
Interesting. I'm surprised.
I'll get into this because, saying anything other than the Ocarina of Time is the greatest game on the internet, you get lynched. So it's just best.
Fair enough. I mean, like I say, I've never played the game, so I don't pass judgment.
But right? This is it is a wider majority of opinion. So yeah, I am in that boat. So please don't come and burn my house down. I agree with you all.
Okay.
But the game isn't without fault. Please don't kill me. But yeah, the game has one issue, and I think this is the only issue with the game, is first person controls for using bow and arrow and things like that are really clunky.
Right.
So what they did is they released the game for 3DS.
Okay.
The exact same game, but the controls are completely smooth.
Right. Okay.
It is literally identical. It's just.
So you'd argue that's the correct way to release a remaster.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. It is literally the same game, just a bit modernised with mechanics that make the game smoother to play.
Okay.
And that is an example of a very successful remaster, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea that it had been remastered already. Because I was going to think that because it's such like a gem, right, and everyone loves it, would it be?
Yeah, it's touchy.
If they released it as a remaster, would people be like, well, why would you even touch this? Like, why wouldn't you just let it be what it is, and sort of let it be like that relic that everyone loves instead of touching it again?
I think that's why they've kept it identical, to be honest, because it is widely regarded as the single best game of them all. So
interesting.
Messing around with that too much, would cause a lot of problems, and this actually leads on to something here of a game that I really want remastered, but I don't think will ever come, is Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer.
Oh God, yes.
Now the problem is with this, and Infinity Ward have released statements on this saying they're afraid to release this because they've had to change the game so much that people hate it.
Yep.
And that I think is the complete contrast to Ocarina of Time here, where they purposely didn't change anything.
The thing is, all they could do is they could release Modern Warfare 2 as a backwards compatible game. Solve all the
They've
issues.
already done that, to be fair.
They did it on Xbox One, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was fine, but again, Modern Warfare 2 I think is one of these games that hasn't it's quite hard to go back and play now
Yeah.
because it's broken, which made it fun at the time. So
Mm.
if you update all of that to look like Modern Warfare or Cold War with maybe some quality of life changes, but you keep all the broken stuff that made it fun,
Are people gonna
I
moan?
think I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, we one man army noob tube across the map
Yeah,
or
just
things
noob
like
tubes.
that. The old
Every
intervention.
the good old philosophy that Infinity Ward had is nothing's broken if everything is. I love it.
I stand by that. That's a good philosophy to have because
Like, you can't have guns that are overpowered if every single gun's overpowered.
exactly, except the F2000. That's the only
I
gun
don't even think it was bad. It was just not overpowered like everything else was, so it kind of
'cause you
just
could
fell
just
behind.
run an ACR on a red dot, you'd be fine.
Or a UMP-45
Oh,
headshot damage
yeah.
the same as the snipers. Hello,
Yeah.
like
I do feel like if they remastered that though, it would again. I think we
it'd
have
ruin
these
it, I
nostalgic
think.
thoughts, don't we, of Modern Warfare 2? That were
Yeah,
fun when we were kids. We're not kids anymore.
it's
You know.
a struggle to play now. Like,
Yeah, I don't think it's got the same. Like that was back in the day where you could sit for hours on end.
just playing
You
Call
know,
of Duty.
Call of Duty. You can't do that now. We have
Eating.
things that we need to do, and
Yeah,
I just
Shouldn't
don't
it?
think it would have the right effect. I don't think Call of Duty should really. I mean, or admittedly though, me and you have both vouched for this when we've been playing the old COD 4 remaster.
Yeah, this is an
Um,
example I have down, and this is quite controversial, I feel. But I have this down as an example of a good successful remaster. As yet, I
Yeah.
know it's riddled with just microtransactions and things, which
About the
annoyed a lot of
truth.
people. But the core game is still there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
I
tell
agree.
you are playing COD 4 when
Absolutely.
you play it, and it just
Yep.
looks nicer, and there's more modern aspects to the game that give it that quality of life that it didn't have in 2008.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's a successful remaster. The game's frustrating, of course, and
That's
it's
COD, isn't it?
800 DLC weapons, but yeah, I think the core game is there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm surprised that Infinity Ward have actually done it well.
No, it's Raven, I believe.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, no, it is Raven. It's Raven and Sledgehammer, is it not?
Possibly, not
I think it
sure.
might be
Might
both
be.
of them. Regardless, they've actually done it well. Like I don't have much faith in COD to do anything right, admittedly. But for them to come out with a remaster that actually worked, you know, I mean the player base is a bit dwindling. You know, we can get into the same game with the same person every day,
Oh yeah,
but
the player base because the game's years old now, so that's
you know,
understandable.
yeah, I mean things die over a time anyway, don't they? You know, all games do that. But it is it is good to be fair. It is like you said an example of one they done well, which is surprising.
Yeah, I think there's. I have my list of games that are unsuccessful remasters are a lot bigger than the ones that are, as I find
Honest.
it's a very sort of blurred. Resident Evil 2 was a fantastic
Okay,
remaster, like that almost got a Game of the Year in 2019.
really?
Yeah, no, it's literally the same game as Resident Evil 2, except they cut out some of the arduous stuff,
Right.
and it's completely modernised. It looks fantastic. They changed the camera angle and things like that, and the controls are a lot smoother. And they made it an
Interesting.
all-round more modern experience that still has the core gameplay again there of Resident Evil 2 on the PS1.
Very interesting.
I think that's at the end of the day what makes a good remaster is you're keeping the core gameplay there. You can tell it is this game,
Hmm.
but it has that quality of life that the original maybe didn't.
Right. See, I can't obviously comment too much because I've never actually played a Resident Evil game in my life.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
it was fantastic. I think one of the more
oh,
successful ones in this decade for sure. Yeah.
okay, so interesting question then.
Okay.
Is there what sort of game? What game would you like if you've got a list of games that you want to be remastered? What would they be?
Perfect Dark is one. I don't know if you know what that is.
That's the old N64
Yeah, it's made by
first-person
the
shooter, isn't it?
same devs as GoldenEye.
Right.
Double
Okay.
O Seven.
Okay.
But I don't want them to do what they did with Double O Seven. GoldenEye, Double O Seven, one of the most, again, beloved games of all time. They did remaster GoldenEye 007, complete disaster. It kind of ended up more like a Call of Duty game than a
Oh
Bond,
dear.
than
Oh dear.
Call of GoldenEye. Yeah, it was a disaster. And Perfect Dark, and I think this is a perfect candidate because it is, again, a beloved game, but it had so many issues on the N64. Like, the performance was absolutely in the bin, and controls were shoddy.
Right.
And a modern version of that actually runs
Would be
and
good.
doesn't control like you could trying to build with Legos, I think could be very beneficial to that game, as it is beloved, and the sort of sequel they made to Perfect Dark wasn't very well received, so
That
we'll have to
sucks.
see with that though. But there's a
Interesting.
few. Time Splitters is also a franchise I want brought back
Too
to a
bad
modern standard. Don't
the
think no.
studio's disappeared off the face of the
I
earth.
don't think it'll ever happen now, but
No,
it's something
'cause
I
no
would
one
love
knows
to
who owns
see.
it.
The
Do they?
grandfather, no, it's the rights are completely up in the air between about 5 different companies. But I think the Time Splitters games were kind of the grandfather of sort of arcade FPS shooters.
Mhm.
I think it's probably safe to say. Maybe Halo Combat Evolved as well could be given that title, but I think
Okay.
this really kicked off the sort of big multiplayer shooter experience in terms of arcade sort of
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
But sadly, I can't see that ever happening.
No. No. Not
Metal
if
Gear
the
Solid 1 as well, I think,
that
is a
game
game
classic.
that needs a
I like
remaster.
that game. Yeah.
They did it already with Metal Gear Solid 2. I believe it's called Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes was the remaster title.
Mhm.
And it was virtually the same game, except they gave it some modern sort of quality of life changes, just some updates that made the game a lot more sort of user friendly. And I would love to see Metal Gear Solid 1 just with Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain sort of visuals, because the game was
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, no, I give you that. That game was incredible to look at.
Unfortunately, again, don't know if it'll ever come, because Hideo Kojima, I don't believe, is part of that anymore.
And he's too busy ruining things like Death Stranding. Like that
God.
pointless bringing
Yeah,
that game out, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, to be honest, I completely forgot it existed.
Yeah, it was one of those games that fell off the face of the earth because the only thing that was good in it was the landscape and the music track. That's about it.
See, this is one of them games again that people didn't like, but won so many awards at the Game of the Year awards by
Yeah,
critics. It was loved by critics.
Don't understand that, to be honest. Do you think, actually, on that note, obviously you mentioned Resident Evil 2 won, or almost won, Game of the Year.
Yeah, it was nominated, and it was definitely one of the better games that year.
Do you think that remasters would hold a place in sort of Game of the Year? So, do you think it's got an opportunity of actually winning Game of the Year over a game that's sort of come out that year, so to speak, like a brand new game compared to a remaster? Do you think a remaster could possibly win, or do you think?
I think it's hard because there's always one new original game that comes out that's just a masterpiece.
Mhm.
So if we're going back, I mean, this year Final Fantasy VII Remake was on the nominees. Didn't win though.
No.
But if we're going back through sort of time, 2014 Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't think any remasters were on the nominated there. There was 2015 was The Witcher 3. I don't think any remasters there. Yeah, it was never in dispute, I don't think, with that. 2016 was Overwatch.
Yep.
2017 was Zelda. Again, don't know if there's any remasters there. I don't think there was. 2018 God of War. 2019 Sekiro, and 2020 The Last of Us 2. I think more recently we're seeing more remakes put on that list. But I think it can happen, for sure. I think a game that it possibly should have been nominated that wasn't this year was Persona 5 Royal. It's literally just a remaster of Persona 5, but it
Yeah,
like critically acclaimed. It had like on Metacritic, it's got like 95 out of 100, and
that's crazy.
but it wasn't
That's,
nominated or anything. So I'm not sure how it works because some game remasters don't actually get sort of any sort of recognition.
mhm.
And I do have a theory on this.
Okay.
I think if the game is a remaster, it cannot be put on that shortlist for the awards, but if it is a remake, it can, I think.
I'd agree with that. I think remaster, like we've mentioned, is literally taking a game, maybe even changing like a couple of controls and then releasing it like as a new game. Whereas a remake is building it from the ground up. So that
Yeah.
deserves in itself, you know, because a lot of the time they use different game engines and stuff like that. So it's not like, they may use similar assets to the original game, but there's a lot of work that goes into a remake, you know. So I agree with that. I think remakes should be allowed, but remasters, yeah, I don't.
I can't. I don't think I can name you just a pure remaster that's ever been shortlisted for the award. Cause I don't think it's ever happened.
I'm surprised Skyrim hasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing with it. Skyrim would just be Game of the Year every other year if that was the case. So it's like
I think
you kind
yeah,
of has to be limits to it, and I think I don't know if that's an actual rule, but it seems like it.
I feel like Skyrim's the perfect example of like nostalgia and a remaster. As you said
Oh,
earlier, the game's 10 years old now. Um,
yeah,
like
just under you.
you ask anyone, and they're like, "Oh, Skyrim's the best game ever." That or Fallout 3, you know. And you're like, "Okay, fine." And then they've remastered it however many times, and I think people obviously at the time like it was huge, wasn't it? It was
Oh,
sort of
Skyrim, yeah.
at the time you're just like, wow, look at this like vast landscape and all these quests and all these things. Like it was incredible. But now there's games that take that concept and do it better. But people still play Skyrim. But do you
I'm
think
gonna
that's
be
because
honest.
it's nostalgia
When you're
or
talking a medieval, you say that there's games that do it better, but I
Hmm.
can't think of any right
I think
now that
I think
take.
maybe more I think I more mean in terms of like open world and RPG games sort of thing. Like maybe not obviously
In terms of
Skyrim's like
RPG games, I
medieval.
don't know. I can't think
But you
of
got
any
you got The
personally.
Witcher, right? I mean, I don't personally like it,
Um,
but
which
people
is,
went crazy, didn't they, for The Witcher
I
3?
think they're two completely different things, though.
You think?
Yeah, for definitely, yeah. I think they're
Okay.
two completely different. They're
Yeah, maybe.
very. The Witcher 3 is a lot more sort of user. If you're good at the game, you can tell sort of thing.
Mm.
They're very complex. It's intuitive.
I mean,
Whereas
obviously, my
Skyrim,
opinion's coming from someone that hasn't necessarily played those games that much. Like, I haven't got
yeah,
much experience with Skyrim, and I think I've got about 30 minutes of experience with The Witcher. But, you know,
yeah, no, I think they're two different, completely different games.
that's fair. I mean,
But no, I don't know with Skyrim being like still king of like big RPG world. From yeah, I don't know. Personally, anyway, I can't think of any that have kind of shown that they can
yeah,
do it better yet. And I mean, that's probably why it gets remastered every 3 days, just because it's
it's
like
popular.
people are still there. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the good thing about it is it's up for debate. It's you just don't know. Obviously people are going to have different opinions and all sorts, but I think it's hard to sort of get away from the fact that Skyrim is sort of like the grandfather of. I would put it as like the grandfather of nostalgic remasters. I can't think of another game off the top of my head that everyone raves about that's been remastered. Really,
I don't think the Skyrim one's down to nostalgia. I don't think it's old enough. I think
do
the
you not?
Skyrim one is just milking cash because
Well, I
people will
think
buy it.
what 2000 and I suppose it's only 2011. I feel like
Yeah, when it first got
that's
remastered as well, it was only like a few years after release.
which is crazy to me. Why would you remaster something that's literally
And the
been out
same
for
with
like 2 years?
yeah, GTA 5 was the same thing. Got
Oh,
remastered literally like when did it come out? 2013. literally got remastered like a couple years after release.
Yeah,
So I don't
I
think
mean,
I think that's more down to cash. I think just money rather than nostalgia for them, because games is
yeah,
not exactly. It's still very accessible, I think.
true. No, I'll give you that. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's really, you know, what people think about nostalgia, and you know, does it actually help the game, or is it, sort of, oh, you know, I'm nostalgic about this game, and then when you actually play it, it's just like, right, so this game's stinky, but I liked it because I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah,
You know,
speaking of that, actually, did you ever play Medieval on like PS1 and all that?
I didn't know, unfortunately.
Well, they released it for PS4 like a remaster, the original.
Yes, I saw that.
But now an issue was in the original, the controls were really clunky,
Hmm.
and it doesn't stand the test of time at all. Going back and playing it now, and in the PS4 version they updated the graphics. It was supposedly a remake, however, the work doesn't feel like it's been put in, as it's the graphics are there for sure, but the controls are still as bad. So
Right.
it's very much just sort of like an unsuccessful remaster for me, because they haven't brought it up to that sort of quality of life modern standard, and it's
It's a
still
shame.
quite hard to play.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it put a sour taste in my mouth playing
That's a
it
shame.
and realizing, hang on, this is still a bit broken.
Like I've said 1,000 times, that's the risk of remasters and stuff like that, is you
Yeah,
could
if you're not.
ruin it. Really.
That's the thing. If they'd have fixed the controls,
Mm.
like say Ocarina of Time did,
Yeah.
then I think you've got a success there. But the fact that they didn't, to me, is lazy. And again,
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah.
It's
You
just
literally take the same game, be like, yeah, let's put it on a
yes.
PS4 disc. There you go.
As you see, there's nostalgia. Medieval is a very old game. People
Hmm.
have good nostalgia for it, so they can make money off it.
Yeah.
And I think to kind of close off this little conversation, I think gamers are blinded by nostalgia, like
Yeah.
myself included, with
Yeah.
some games for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. I think we're all guilty of it, to be honest. I think. I don't want to keep going back to it, but I think Simpsons Hit and Run is just a perfect example. I really do. You know, it's one of those things that we always look back to our childhoods, and whatever game it may be that you guys played. Like,
Yeah,
you think, okay, that was fantastic when I was about 6 or 7, but now I'm the age I am now. You're just like, yeah, it's really not that good. And then, like, one thing I will say before we wrap up is the Sonic um, franchise as a whole, for me, is quite nostalgic because I remember playing it on the original Sega, um, and now, in my opinion, I think all the Sonic games of, you know, the like nowadays are just stinky, and it's a shame,
if you
because I've
like
got these.
the old school Sonic games, try Sonic Mania on PlayStation. That's
Yes,
literally a compilation of just old levels and stuff. It's really
yeah,
good.
I needed to check that out because Sonic, like I say, Sonic was my jam, when I was a little boy,
Yeah,
um, and now it's just like, oh, you know, and that's an example. I think that's what's kept the only Sonic fans that are about now, I feel like, are the ones that remember it when they were a kid, you know. But
yeah. I generally don't know the last sort of Sonic game released. If I'm honest, I don't have a clue. I've
I
always
could
been a
not tell you.
Mario guy over Sonic.
Could not tell you. But
Like the 3D ones for me aren't there.
that's not the one.
They
It's not the
didn't
one.
follow. They tried to kind of go with the success that Mario got, and I don't think it worked.
No, exactly. Um, but no, it's just interesting to hear people's opinions on sort of what nostalgia means to in games for them. Is it keeping sort of remasters alive because you remember it, or the remaster's actually good? But yeah,
Yeah,
unless you've got anything else to add, we can sort of
yeah. There is
begin to
actually
wrap
one
up.
thing.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Now there is some remasters that come out. that blur the line between success and unsuccess.
Hmm.
And one that I have in mind here is Halo Master Chief Collection that very much blurs these lines,
Okay.
as the amount of work put in was clearly there.
Right.
These games updated look absolutely fantastic,
Hmm.
and I really love the inclusion of a button you can press that reverts it back to the old graphics instantly
That's cool.
if you would like to play with the old graphics.
All right. That.
But the games were so, like, the online for Halo Master Chief Collection didn't work for like 6 months after release. The game was literally broken, didn't work.
What a way to ruin it, eh?
And I think that blurs the lines. Apparently it's all fixed now,
Mm.
but I think that blurs the lines, and this was a nostalgia purchase for me, for sure.
Well, yeah.
Halo Combat Evolved, I think, is that and GoldenEye are the two sort of grandfather. Well, say GoldenEye is the grandfather of FPSs, then Combat Evolved is like the dad.
Well, if you remember me and you back at your house when we were
Yeah,
kids,
on the old Xbox.
on the old Xbox, the original Xbox, playing Halo 2.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
And I don't think we'd have games like Call of Duty and stuff now if Halo didn't succeed like it did
I agree. Yeah.
as a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
But I
There you
think
go.
that is about all I have, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't think of
Well.
anything else unless you got something.
No, I think I'm all sort of wrapped up. So we shall end the episode there. Thank you very much for listening. I just want to say one thing before we wrap up. Thank you to everyone for your support over the last, we've just started and people have sort of welcomed us, getting good responses on the episodes. Even after yesterday's issues with Spotify, that was a pain, but we got there. Yeah, it's been good. The support's been fantastic. I think I can speak for both of us when I say thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, enough of that. Let's let's wrap up. Make sure that you check out all the links that will be in the description of the YouTube video. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Make sure that you check us out on all different platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, and Google, and a few others to name. If you have any questions or anything like that, we've got a Discord server that will be linked below. So yeah, if there's anything you'd like to say, we will speak to you in the next episode. And
Yeah,
take care.
stay safe.
Goodbye.
Bye.